This is Marquessa Petway coming to you from New York City. I'm a business reinvention expert. I help entrepreneurs create six-figure signature systems for success in their business. And I'm also a proud columnist with Speaker Magazine. The column is called Speaker Toolkit. And let me tell you, one of my favorite things is meeting with the superstars of NSA. And today is no different. I get a chance to sit down and talk to Marjorie Brody. She is a CSP, CPAE. For those of you that aren't familiar with a CPAE, that is the Speaker Hall of Fame. Which is a very big deal. That means your colleagues really admire the work you've done in the world. She's an author of more than 18 books, and she's been in this business, guys, since 1983. Now, my question for Marjorie was, what are your strategies or best practices for maintaining and growing your seven-figure speaker business in one market? How did you do it? I mean, to be in this business, guys, think about that. Since 1983, and in my early days, I've been in this business for about 11 years, going on 12. Marjorie was one of my first bosses that I spoke for. So I've been in her office, I've met her team, serious heavy hitter, and I'm just getting goosebumps talking about her. So guys, I'm gonna shut up because you want to hear about her. So welcome, Marjorie.
Thank you, Marquessa. Thank you so much. You're so funny. And, it's an honor to be here today. Thank you.
All right, so let's kind of go back to the beginning. We have speakers listening at all different levels, newbies, experienced ones, and people that seasoned. Take us back to when you first got in this business. Tell us the moment where you thought to yourself, this is gonna work. I can do this. Yeah, take us back to that.
All right. Well, I was part-time, like a lot of people that are in NSA. I was a college professor, and I was doing this on a part-time basis for 6 years before I left the college and took the business full-time. So it was probably in years 3, 4, and 5, I began to think, well, maybe I could take this full-time. But I got such incredible advice, like, are you crazy? You're leaving a tenured position to take this risk, and you have these family responsibilities. What are you doing? But I have never looked back. It was a wonderful decision that I made. But one of the things for me, I knew early on, I am good at a few things, but I am not good at everything. And I don't mean just around topic. I mean about running a business. So anything that was administrative, I'm not all that organized. And I'm not that technical. And there's just all these things that I don't enjoy. They frustrate me, and I'm not particularly good at. So from the very beginning, I hired part-time help, administrative help initially, and ultimately grew the business. But I just know that I don't like doing things, and I'm not going to do them. So if I could spend more time, I do like marketing and selling. I have to tell you, that's just part of the fun for me. I like developing material in as much as I like solving problems for my clients. So I love being out with them to help them, and that requires a certain amount of research development, putting together materials, whether it is for a coaching, a training, a speaking, whatever it is. So I like solving those problems, but there's other things that I'm just not good at, and so let them go, just let them go. And that was one of the early lessons for me. Knowing yourself, where your talents are, where you want to go. And then the business just kept evolving. I was lucky. I came in at a good time. And you talk about, you ask about dominating a market. And I said to you, well, you know what? I'm in pharmaceuticals. I don't know that we dominate anything, but and I also believe in reaching out, not just having one market. There's upturns and downturns and everything. So we really are constantly looking to say, well, how do we build this area or that area? We're looking at others, and we have other venues or silos or areas that we're going. But when it comes to our market, it's knowing what's going on. And I will tell you, the people that I trained back in the 1980s, they're retiring, but many of them are leaders. And so it's funny, I will have people call the office and talk to one of my account managers or one of our staff members, and they'll say, is she still, and I don't know if they want to say, is she still alive? Is she still working? You know, all of that. And they're saying, yes, she's very much in the game, etc. But I'm wondering, wow, they're starting to retire because they've gotten old, but the reputation is there. I remember when you helped me this, or when your company came in and did that. And I think if you're really going to dominate, or at least get immersed in a particular vertical, then you want to develop a reputation there. And the best thing that you can do, the very best thing you can do, is do a good job. See, I think to me that is just so critical, is you're building your reputation with each event. And we have had times where things didn't go well. We would put out a trainer, and that trainer either didn't do a good job or didn't resonate with that audience. Well, that's a black mark on the company, because they each represent us. And so quality control is huge. And it's tougher, because our audiences are tougher. They're more judgmental. They've had more experiences. I'm in an industry that pays for development, and they have options anywhere. So we have to be innovative. And that's one of the things we're working on, because I don't think we're innovative enough in terms of different ways of delivering. Mm-hmm. And how to reach out to people. We've got to be innovative with that around social media. And I do believe in the old-fashioned work, the Rolodex, might be called a database today, but it's working it and calling people and saying, hey, just was thinking about you, or we've just developed a new program thought you'd be interested. And not just depend on email. That's a constant struggle I have with people internally. It's got to be email. It's got to be voicemail. We've got to be sending things. We invite them to things, because it just keeps the brand right in front of them. And the timing has to be right. When people are ready, I want them to think, oh, Brody as an organization, not just Marjorie. And I work really hard at, one, getting rid of my ego. Never sure that it's entirely gone, but, getting rid of my ego, making sure that the others are doing a quality job, and understanding that the clients don't need to know who I am. It still opens a lot of doors. I will say that even for my account managers, they'll say, would you please call first, because you can open the doors. But, as I begin to look ahead to succession planning, to think I can't always be opening the doors. I need to make sure that others have developed the reputation and the relationships.
Oh, guys, are you taking like lots of notes? I've heard Marjorie speak several times just within NSA, and it's always a page full of notes. So you share with us really how you grew in this business, and how reputation plays a big role, quality control, and not having an ego. That's big for us speakers to hear in this business. And really, you made a decision, I want my company to be out there. I know some speakers make a decision, I want to become the celebrity, I want to be the name. But for you, it was, I want Brody and this company to have a certain type of reputation.
Right. Yeah, that was, you know what, I'd love to say it. I woke up one day and I had this decision, I'm going to make this. It just evolved. One, I was working full time as a college professor, so I didn't have all that much flexibility. And when people would call and say, well, can you offer a program on writing? I went, oh, no, I don't want to do that, but I know people that can do it. You see, right away, it was, I can get other people under the umbrella of Brody Professional Development. Also, if there was a program that I was interested in, I would develop it. So I began to expand the programs all under the umbrella of, at the time, it was just communication. Now it's leadership communication, because that's what people want. But I was able to expand it, but then there were times that I couldn't be in 4 places at one time. And I thought, well, I have a choice. I can meet the client's needs by getting them a really good trainer that was certified in doing my programs. That's hence the ego thing, because sometimes they would do it better. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good, I guess. But yeah, and they could do that and then bring them in to do it. So we were beginning to expand capabilities, both in terms of quantity of the bench strength, really, as well as the programs. So it wasn't a purposeful decision. And I still I always struggle with being strategic when I often am very tactical about things, but strategically thinking it was a really good move because I enjoy the business piece.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know that all speakers do enjoy that. I
And
really
that's huge.
it
A lot
is.
of speakers will say, I just want to speak, but you're thinking,
I
no, you
know.
got to do both sides of it.
Yeah. And you know what? A lot of them are better speakers than I am, too. And I think that I probably, had I spent more time in that arena, maybe I would even be a better presenter than I am. But I love this part and I love the business part. And as long as the client is satisfied and happy in bringing me and us back, then I guess my skills are good enough. You know, I think we all can get better. I don't think there's any question about that.
And see, Marjorie, you've also leveraged writing.
Yeah.
I know Diane, I always say her name wrong, Diane Boer.
Diana Boer, yeah, she's awesome.
Has a lot of books as well, and that's a big, she's leveraged that in a smart way in her business. How is just publishing 18 books? Has that really made a big difference in your business over the years?
Well, let me just start with saying one thing about Diana, who I admire so much, is she likes to write. I mean, she thinks of herself as a writer and who speaks.
Uh-huh.
And I think of myself as a speaker who writes. And there is a difference because she really enjoys it. I have to tell you, I don't. I have ideas. I like ideas and I like to articulate them, but I need somebody that's like taking them down and then I rewrite them, et cetera, et cetera. Has it made a difference? Yes, it's opened a lot of doors. And my initial 6 books were all with big publishers. And then I decided I wanted control and money. And so one publisher offered me, a big publisher offered me a certain advance. And I said to him, well, you know, if you add a 0 to that, we can talk. And he said to me, well, what is it you want? Money? I said, well, as a matter of fact, that is what I'm interested in. I said, because now I can get on the shelves the same as you can get on the shelves. I can go through distributors. But the reality is, in our programs, all of the materials are bundled in. I mean, so there's a training fee, and then there's a material fee on top of that. So the books go there. So when I started my own publishing company, it just was another avenue for money. And so I swear I'm never writing another book. That's going to be to my successors in this business. Let them begin to write the next ones. But yes, I've done a lot. And of course, I just got a great idea from someone recently of just take all the blogs and put that into a book. So that wouldn't be as difficult. So there's a lot of ways of doing it using what we're already using for social media.
Now, also, Marjorie, you mentioned earlier that one of your best practices or that's led to the result of repeatable business, because there are a lot of speakers that get into the 6 figures, and then some of them will even get into the mid, between $1 million or between the 7 figures but above the 6 figures, well, within the 6 figures, and they're like, I can't break it. I don't know why I can't break it, but it seems to be the repeatable clients. What's been your, I guess, best strategies in order to sort of break that ceiling and say, no, they call me up, they know me. And then after many years, I become their go-to person.
Right. It's doing a quality job and knowing who they are. I think that's really the important thing is understanding what their business is, what their pain is, speaking their language. And even within an industry, I mean, I'm in pharmaceutical, but I will tell you, the biotech and the West Coast people have a very different vibe than a lot of the East Coast people, and that's different than device, et cetera. So it's being able to adapt. I mean, whether it's from the clothes that you wear, the language that you speak, the tempo that you speak with, the examples. I mean, that's the key thing, is just using examples that they can relate to and that are theirs. So it's spending that time up front and getting to know who they are and then playing that back for them.
Oh, this is great. You also, and I remember this so well, always have such a savvy team. And you mentioned before we went into record mode that your team, they've been around for years. A lot of speakers, I may be in there, struggle with finding the right people. Sometimes it's even a revolving door. What's your magic? How is it that you not only attract a team, and not a small team, but a rather large team, and you like them and they hang around? There's got to be some secret sauce in there somewhere.
Well, I didn't say that this was easy. Let's say that this is, from my perspective, running the internal business is the hardest part. It's easy with my clients. It's easy to develop material. All of that is easy. And I've had some people that have been with us. I mean, I've had some 20 years. Don't forget, we have the trainers, and as well as having the internal team. And it's hard to find the right people. It is just very difficult. And we've struggled a lot. The sales people have been the hardest people to find, because working in a small business, and although there's a base fee, it's on commission, and it's difficult for them. It's difficult for us to attract and find the right people that can work with a sophisticated audience. See, that's it. We're in a relatively small office, but our audience is very sophisticated to be able to understand and speak their language. So a lot of the people that we have now has been through just people that we knew, and who knew this one, who knew that one, whether it was in graduate school or at church. I mean, in other words, just finding and attracting those people has been very interesting. We're also, depending on the role, doing a really, I think, a great test. Again, depends on what the role is, but whether it's in finance or it's operational, it is bringing in a couple people for a few hours, paying them, this is our finalist, and giving them a task and watching them work and seeing what questions they ask and how they relate to the others. And so that has been, it's good. I think we've gotten pretty good at interviewing, and some have worked and some haven't. There's certain roles that have been more revolving door, and that's been more around sales. I think right now we're in a really good place, but I'm always fingers crossed. And the operations team is, I have a COO, and she really works well with all of them. And she gives good feedback and coaching, and she's just a strong player and believes in what we do. So that's not easy, though.
Wow. Now, Marjorie, a lot of folks are listening, and they can hear that you are a brilliant businesswoman and professional speaker. And one thing they may want to know is, what were some couple of personal decisions? Lisa Ford, who's also part of this interview series about this, as well as Roxanne and Barbara Glanz, and they're going to all be asked that same question. What are some personal decisions? For Lisa, it was saving. Saving money was important to her, and saying no to certain things. Is there any kind of maybe personal decision, just based on who you are, that you made this really work for you long term?
Oh, wow. Well, I'll go along with Lisa. To me, you always have to put money away. And when there was the crash in 2007, and a lot of our companies we're going through merger and acquisition, and found ourselves in debt. And, excuse me, in a line of credit. So I will never take a line of credit. I will never borrow money. I will never spend more than I make. And I knew better, and I allowed that to happen through not keeping an eye on the business as much and trusting others in the business. So that's one thing. I think Lisa also mentioned a mastermind group. I have my mastermind groups and have loved working with them, and it's been very, very helpful. I think there's also the family, and depending on who you talk to, I feel like an octopus with my almost 92-year-old mother says, "You do too much, Marjorie, will you do this for me?" And then there's the grandchildren, and then there's the children, and then of course there's my husband, and there's friends. I mean, there's all these people pulling in a lot of directions, and I sometimes feel like I'm never anywhere enough. And probably I'm not, because everyone wants that. And I believe in, personal decisions. I take vacations. Let's just start there. I believe in vacations. I believe to get away. I love to travel, and I've always done that. I've had amazing experiences, and I don't mean for work. I mean, I take fun vacations and spend that time with my husband and children, and I take my grandsons away too. So to me, that's a really important part of who I am. And my personal friends are not speakers. It's interesting. I've had friends long before I went into speaking, and although I do have a group of speaker friends, I have my friends that don't have a clue what I do and say, "We don't want your life." But, if there's people that I can go ski with or bike with or go to the movies or out to dinner and have dinner parties. In other words, I have a life. And speaking is a part of that. It is not my whole life. It affords me a very nice lifestyle. I love what I do. And I like to think I'm more than just the business, that as a person that I can do other things.
Mm. Oh, well, I could just listen to you all day long. And, and I just want to say a special thank you for giving me a chance. You know, it was my first professional speaking job when I first entered this industry. And I'll never forget hearing you at our chapter in New York City. And you were just such a blessing in our industry. And I just thank you. And it's not hard to believe you're a CPAE, and we appreciate you so much for all that you do. Now, many are listening and are thinking, how can I reach out to her? So what's the best way to reach you, Marjorie?
Well, I can give you two things. One is my website is Brody Pro, BRODYPRO.com. And my office number is 215-886-1688. So I'm happy to talk to people. I like people. You know, this is a fun business that we're in, and happy that we can help people.
She does. That's the beautiful thing about the NSA family. Everybody wants to give. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you to everyone that's listening. Make sure you read this in Speaker Magazine. Send Marjorie a note, everyone that you hear, because they gave their time to just share, to pull back the curtains and share their success steps. My name is Marquessa Petway out of New York City. Again, a business reinvention expert, and I'll see you next time.